What's up, everybody? It's your boy Panda Daddy, and today we're doing r/LetsNotMeet. Now, if you're not familiar with this type of video format on my channel, usually if I'm reading a post or like a story on Reddit, I don't do any commentary. It's just meant for pure entertainment. So if you're eating some food, playing some video games, drawing, just want to hang out with your favorite panda boy, you're going to definitely enjoy this video. And if you want more videos like this, let me know in the comments down below and leave a like if you like the video. So let's get started. My mom stopped a kidnapping when she was 8. My mom told me this story around Christmas of 2018 when I was researching some true crime in the hospital. My mom was 8 years old, about 5 minutes from her house. Every year there was a fun fair on the fields by her house. Considering the fact that her brother and sister were 15 and 16, this was about the 70s, so parents were much more relaxed. My mom had her pocket money, and she saved that money up for a month in preparation for this fair. She was going in between the stalls and having a lot of fun, as any 8-year-old would. Out the corner of her eye, she spotted a little girl, about 2 to 4 years old, and then she saw a man in his 20s walk up to her and talk to her and point. He grabbed her hand and she willingly followed. She saw that they were walking down an alley, so she followed. My mother got a feeling in her gut, like he was suspicious. She, to this day, doesn't know why, and she still doesn't know why. She followed him and crept quietly on her toes. She watched him from around the corner and followed him down the alley. Halfway down the alley, she tripped and scuffed her knee on a rock. The rock fumbled, it made a large sound, and the man turned around. My mom's heart stopped, and she started sweating. The man walked past her, and my mom followed him back. He went to the middle of the fair and let go of her hand and walked off. My mom grabbed a little girl's hand and found her mother, who was looking everywhere for her. My mom never told her parents until recently because she didn't realize how big of an issue it was. She was 8. The man could still be alive, and as my mom is 50, this man could be like in his 70s. So, Mr. Kidnapper, if you're still alive, let's not meet. Friend turned stalker. This was years ago, so details may not all be there. Also, I'm not a great explainer, so sorry in advance. There was this boy, Freddie, and he was my friend for a bit of freshman year. He was a sophomore at the time, and he was obsessed with serial killers and rapists because it was crime stuff. At first, I thought he simply was interested in true crime because I was too, but he wanted to experience it. I remember this moment because he said it so loud. I could feel myself sinking into my chair without actually moving. He said, "You know, I want to do what they do." It was in the middle of the school year, and I started avoiding him because of all the weird questions he asked me. He never met my family, mainly because I didn't trust him as much as I did near the beginning. He somehow knew my grandmother's birthday and managed to invite himself to her 80th birthday dinner, but I told him we canceled it. The day back from her birthday dinner, he was mad at me. He didn't talk to me or eat with me during lunch. I knew why, but I didn't want to ask. Regardless, he asked me if we were going to cancel my dad's birthday dinner with the family at the restaurant he named. It made me feel really uncomfortable, and I didn't know how to respond or act. I got really nervous, so I told him I had to use the bathroom, but he waited the entire time for me to go to class, even after the bell rang. It pissed me off, but I understood that he wanted to be a good friend and wait. When he said he was joking, I laughed it off, but I couldn't help but wonder how he knew. Anyway, when I got home, I made sure to lock all the doors and windows. The next day, I didn't bother going to school, but I found out he was moving soon enough when I did go back. I wasn't happy, but at the same time I was. I felt like a dick feeling happy over someone moving away, especially a so-called friend. A week before he moved, he came to my house, despite not knowing where I lived. Not once did I tell him or show him where I lived. He didn't know any of my best friends since they didn't interact with him because they thought he was weird and creepy. He knocked on my door and asked to hang out at a pond nearby, and the way he asked gave me chills and made me even more uncomfortable around him than ever. I remember him waiting for an answer, but I'm not sure if I closed the door on him or said no and closed the door on him. Regardless, at the school next day, he was upset with me. He told me that he would have lived out his dream if it wasn't for me. I was reminded of what he told me about wanting to do what killers do, and I hated hearing Freddie say such things. I never thought he wanted to accomplish something so sinister before moving to a different district. He followed me around when I went to a store with my mom or when I hung out with my best friends. Still my best friend today. Very happy about that. He always chalked it up to a coincidence, but I always knew he was lying. On the last day, Freddie wanted to hang out, and I was afraid if I said no, he'd do something, but I didn't know what. We did hang out, but also because of my other friend, Tom, made me promise I'd text him everything that happened, and I did up until where we got to where we wanted to hang out. Freddie asked to shake my hand, but I refused. I never liked touching people since I know people don't like being touched by someone randomly. When he offered to shake my hand, I didn't know how to feel. I felt something sink, and when I refused, he got upset and pushed me onto the parking spot. I scraped my elbow and got a rock in it. I still have a scar from it. It hurt like a bitch, not gonna lie. I reprimanded him, but he only got angrier and tried to play the victim. But I didn't buy it. He told me good luck on my birthday. He moved away, and I never saw him again. I'm happy he moved. It was the weirdest experience with someone. I don't even know what his problem was, but I hope he gets help for whatever his issue is, and I hope to never meet him again. My uncle would tell everyone that I was his wife. I once posted a thread about this incident on Twitter, but I wanted to talk about it again where I wasn't very limited. So there are some details in this post than there are in the Twitter thread I'd done several months back. This happened to me in 2015 when I was 19 years old. I was a sophomore in college, and the only notable relationship I had was with this guy that later left me for unknown reasons. While this was all starting, my dad offered to give his old friend a place to stay. He was in his 40s at the time, and his room ended up being the downstairs common area right next to my room. His daughter was a childhood friend of mine and my sister, so when she visited me, we often spent a lot of time together. I made the now regrettable decision of taking a design major, so most of my homework that semester had to be done in the common room. I often had many late nights, so we would end up talking to each other. He spent most of his nights playing World of Warcraft after coming home from his shifts down in Atlantic City. When he wasn't playing, the two of us would watch movies and shows on Netflix or play video games together for all hours of the night. We shared a lot of interests, like anime, cult horror movies, different video game franchises, and a fascination with witchcraft. We ended up being pretty close friends. I didn't have my license at the time, so he would often take me to school and work. That was more time that we had to get to know each other, and I ended up growing a bond with him. He became like an uncle to me. For the rest of the story, I'll be referring to him as my uncle. There were a few times where we went traveling together, with his daughter too, and we would go to the surrounding shopping malls in our county. And there was this one day where we went down to Smithville and we looked at the different shops, and I genuinely had a great time. But then something started to seem off. On my days off from school or work, we started to take trips during the week to different places. It started out with food shopping or me needing to buy school supplies for my classes. Then he started mentioning this place where he frequented to get incense and paraphernalia. The only problem was that on this particular day I had to babysit my youngest brother, who was 3 at the time. My uncle assured me that he could just tag along, so we ended up going. This shop was innocent enough, mostly selling Wiccan items and incense. I was interested in a lot of these things they were selling, and I was just looking around. I tried making sure my brother stayed by my side, and I held his hand or would occasionally pick him up in my arms when he was shy. Meanwhile, my uncle was chatting with the tenders. One of them ended up making the mistake of asking, "Hey, is that your son?" I still get asked if my younger brothers are my kids all the time because of the big age gap between us, so I was quick to try and say, no, he's my brother. My uncle, however, had a different way of handling it. He told them, yeah, isn't he cute? I tensed up, and I was really quick to correct him now. The ladies apologized, but my uncle acted like he didn't say anything. They gave my brother a coloring book, and we soon left. I liked that shop, but because of that incident, I never went back. I don't remember if I tried confronting him about it that time, but it definitely was not the last time he tried something like this. Now, about that trip to Smithville. As fun as it was going there for the first time, my uncle still tried keeping close to me in the shops, even with his daughter with us. He had a girlfriend that lived up north, and yet when people would talk to us, he acted like we were together. It made me feel uncomfortable, but what was I supposed to say? I'd thought that maybe I was digging too deeply into it, so I didn't say much unless it is to look at his daughter to see for a reaction. She didn't seem quite bothered, to my relief. But here is where things come to a head. Around November that year, my uncle invited me to come with him to this indie game convention that was in Atlantic City. It seemed like a harmless enough event, so on the day I just happened to be off, I decided to go. It was a simple enough convention, with a lot of indie game devs showing off their demos on the convention floor in this casino. There were different vendors and shops too. I sat down to play a demo that caught my interest. I was playing and getting a feel for the game, but the developer looked at me and my uncle and playfully commented to him, "This is a good game to play with your wife." I was awkwardly sitting there, mostly because any feminine epithet towards me made me extremely uncomfortable, but not once did my uncle correct them when we were in this particular booth. He never stopped to say, "No, wait, we're not married," or "I actually have a girlfriend already." He went along with it. In fact, he always did that. Let me just remind you of this important detail. I was 19 years old, just barely over 5 foot, and struggling to survive off my paychecks. My uncle was a full-grown 40-year-old man. At this shop I was looking around, while my uncle met up with another guy that was looking around, I think he had kids or something, and I don't know how this was brought up, but he mentioned something about children. He might have asked something along the lines of if we had kids, but my soul was leaving my body out of complete embarrassment and discomfort at this point. My uncle's response to the stranger's asinine assumption was to say, no, but maybe one day. I snapped at that point. Of course I didn't start yelling, but I damn well should have. Instead, after the stranger left, I told him to knock it off. I was so uncomfortable, but I tried to get my point across. After all, who just says things like that to random strangers? And people just kept assuming that we were married because he never bothered to tell them the truth. He turns to me, and with no concept of reality of the situation whatsoever, he tells me, "What? You'd be a great mother." The convention was completely ruined for me after that, and I didn't even want to be seen with him there anymore. We ended up walking back to the boardwalk afterwards, but he was still close and personal, like we were dating, despite my verbal discomfort towards it. I just wanted to go home. I even told my parents what happened and when we finally got back, but nothing came of it, considering that he was still living with us for months after the convention. But after that, I never went somewhere alone with him ever again. I know he wouldn't have actually done anything to harm me, but it was the implication that when we were out together alone, he was telling people that we were married, let alone considering having children. It wasn't even like I could drive away because I don't even have a license. No one at home really took me seriously. He eventually got kicked out over an unrelated incident. His daughter doesn't talk to him anymore, and there are plenty of other stories with him, but for the sake of his and others' anonymity and keeping this from getting any longer than it already is, I'll just leave it here. What triggered all these memories again was when he tried reaching out to me on Facebook a couple of months ago. How's the family doing? Like nothing happened. I still can't even watch movies that I enjoyed without thinking of what he did. So, dear uncle that lied to strangers about me being your wife, let's never meet again. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Panda Daddy. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, let me know in the comments down below and leave a like if you liked the video. If you're new to my channel, go ahead and subscribe, fam. What you doing watching videos and not subscribing? If you want more videos like this where I just read out scary stories or go onto subreddits that are majority stories and just want me to read them, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. I'm always open to new content. And if you thought this was super entertaining, let me know which story was your favorite. And as always, I gotta thank the Patreon supporters. So thanks to Maria, Pro Cookies, Simon Possum, the Caustic, Haley, and Horror Star. All your support is greatly appreciated and makes what I do a whole lot easier. If you want to buy some sick merch, link is in the description and in the eye icon and at the end of the YouTube video. Go ahead and check out the catalog. I'm planning on adding a bunch of t-shirts and a whole bunch of other stuff in the coming month, so stay tuned for that. Also, if you want to be a Patreon supporter, the link is also in the description down below. Also, tomorrow there will be an extra Reddit video. It's a surprise what it is, and also there's going to be a poll right after this upload for Wednesday's upload. So look out for that notification if you want to put your 2 cents into what you want to see on Wednesday. And as always, stay zesty.